here with Tammy Honaman, who has brought some wonderful whimsical jewelry. And now, Tammy, this almost looks to me like it's made out of paper or something.
It is fabric.
Oh,
You know,
cool.
fabric scraps, if you've done any sort of sewing, you've always got a little bit extra.
And maybe even if you haven't.
And even if you haven't, you can find some scraps somewhere or find some really fun
Old
fabric.
clothes or thrift stores, anything like that.
Anything.
So how do we get started?
All right, so just whatever fabric you do have, I start out with some smaller pieces and just fuse two together so that there's a back side and a front side.
Okay.
And it could match, it could be contrasting, it could be whatever you want.
Well, then you could have reversible jewelry.
Reversible jewelry.
Cool.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Then we need to make the wire frames.
Okay.
So that we can then put the fabric onto something to
Now,
make it.
I have some very basic wire skills, so I'm super curious to see how hard this is. I'm nervous.
Okay, well, I hope I can have you not feeling
Okay.
that way by the time we finish. We're just going to use some basic tools, so round nose pliers, flat nose pliers, and then these guys are a little bit different.
They look scary.
They look scary, and they're a little bit heavy, but they're really awesome. They're mandrel pliers, so there's two different shapes that I have here, but there's even more shapes available. But these are squares. You have two different sizes, and triangles, two different sizes, so that you can make your shapes right on the pliers.
Oh my gosh, so cool.
Yeah, and so it gives you the flexibility of being able to really hold it firmly and then wrap around it.
Neat.
Yes. So should we
Let's do it.
Try it? All right. So this is a 16 gauge craft wire. So it's very flexible. It's very easy to manipulate. And so I'm just going to place it into the mandrel. Let the mandrel do the work. You know, the box joint on this is really significant, so it's going to help hold this for me.
Oh, I wondered how you got that triangle. I thought maybe you just took a pair of flat nose pliers around like a template, which always goes wonky for me, but this seems like a way that you can do it really nicely.
You got it. You got it. That's exactly what it is. And then because this is craft wire, I'm just going to use my hands, which I wouldn't normally recommend, but you can. And so I'm just going to anchor this tail.
And I was going to say, craft wire tends to be like aluminum or something, so it's really soft and pliable.
Yeah.
And then otherwise you'd need to use pliers to yank it around.
Exactly, exactly. And this is a copper core, so it's still very manipulatable.
Cool.
For a big word. I'm just going to cut off that little tail, and then we'll use our other pliers to make the loop that we'll then use to hang the charm from.
So this is why you needed the round nose pliers, because just like the mandrel was creating the triangle, the round nose is creating the round part.
You got it, exactly. And so I'm just going to trim this off so we have a little bit less of a spool to work from.
I think it's easier to work with smaller lengths of wire, for me at least, because
agree.
I just don't have the skill to handle a lot of
Well,
it.
who wants all that all over the place? So we'll just make a wrapped loop. So I'll push the wire away from me, and then I will wrap this up and over. So again, I'm using that as my form. Rotate the pliers, and then I will.
Man, Tammy, you make it look so easy. That's awesome.
And then we've got our circle. We'll hold. Now with these here, that'll give me my leverage, and then I can just wrap.
And this is what creates, I can see all these different shaped ones now that you have here, the triangle, the two different ways, you have a circle, oval, another triangle. So you really can get the shape that you want.
Exactly.
Super cool.
Exactly. And then you can also use a jig. If you don't have the pliers, a jig is just a really nice, sturdy tool that you can add your shapes to and then work on it
So
that way.
that's how you made the oval. I can see this. And so I assume that's how you made the butterfly too.
Correct.
Cool.
So really, the sky's the limit.
That's super cool.
Yes, and you can use a template in your tools. So like what you were describing is
There are so
certainly-
many ways to get there if you want to, but I always think like tools make it easier.
Tools make it easier. All right, and then so real simply, you just trace your shape onto your fabric.
Okay, I can do this.
Yep. And then we'll use some scissors and
Now, do you have to trim like a seam allowance? Are you doing exactly on the line, or are you going a little ways away?
I am going right on the line.
Oh, really?
Yeah, real simple. And sometimes I find that, oh, I didn't really follow that really well.
And who cares? It's handmade.
That's what I say.
So this is one of the reasons I assume you wanted to fuse that fabric, because the adhesive between the two layers means that you're not getting any fray.
Correct.
Cool.
Yep. And then it also makes it so that you have a nice finished.
Double-sided.
Yep. You got it. And then this is just some wax linen on
Okay.
a pretty heavy duty needle. And then we're just going to wrap.
And wax linen thread is commonly used, I know, in bookbinding
Yes, yes,
because
yes,
it's
yes.
hardy, it doesn't break, and I assume we're thinking the same thing here. That needle's so big you have to use pliers to pull it through. I like that.
Why work harder if you don't have to?
Exactly.
And I like the wax linen, but then you do need to use a bigger needle so that it fits through the eye.
Right. I actually have a teeny tiny pair of pliers that's in my like little travel case, which is
Yes.
perfect for pulling needles.
It would be great for that.
Now, you obviously picked a really fun color of wax linen, which is another benefit. The other thing I've always been taught is that wax linen doesn't knot, as opposed to using like embroidery floss or something like that where it gets tangled, but the wax on it somehow keeps it from knotting.
Yeah, it's so easy to use, and it does come in fun colors. So it's nice to then either add a complement or contrast.
And this is, you're just going basically around your frame,
That is-
right?
yeah,
Are you like counting a certain number of stitches? Are you worried about the size of them? Or are you just doing what feels good?
I basically let the form guide my hand. I do try to keep them so they're somewhat uniform here. From the distance from the wireframe into the fabric, I do try to have some consistency there because the rest of it's so random.
Okay.
So, and then if I can get 3 on each side, that's great, but I don't really care.
Worry too much about it. I
really
like
don't.
that.
I really don't. And then you're always, also working around your attachment. So also that kind of forces you to make some decisions that you can't anticipate.
Super cool. So if we
Yeah.
look at some of the finished pieces that you brought, I can see that you've got everything from the earrings in the small sizes to these really spectacular statement necklaces, the butterflies, the hearts. I mean, you can take basically any shape, right?
You can, any shape.
You just need that open space. I even have to tell you personally, when I saw the one with the ovals, I thought it was an eyeball.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool. I mean, people love to wear jewelry that expresses their personalities. Now, the bracelet that we see here, is that differently done?
It's done a little differently. It's still the same concept of the fabric, but then we've beaded on it. So you could take this to a whole new level by adding some beads.
That is super cool. And I love the idea that fabric's so lightweight and we've got plenty of it.
Yep, you got it.
This is a really cool technique, Tammy. I want to try this. I want to
Excellent.
steal these first, but I want to try this too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.